Ladies and gentlemen, today let's talk about my favorite books. I'm going to talk about the books that I recommend for you to read so you can change your mindset and adopt the mindset of someone who is highly successful, who goes out there and gets and grabs their ambition like there's no tomorrow. So let's get started. Hello ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. This is going to be a great day because I'm going to talk about my favorite books. I'm going to talk about books that I recommend for you to get because they will highly help you building a more successful, positive, ambitious mindset. My name is Jordan Alexo, and if you still haven't done it, I recommend for you to go right below, click on that thumbs up, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can receive on a weekly basis more of this type of videos and also videos related to Kindle publishing and several ways for you to make money online. So let's talk about books. Why I love books, okay, and why you should love them too. Well, I've been an avid reader of books. I basically have, during the past decade or so, I have read hundreds and hundreds of books. And for me, it is one of the easiest ways and cheapest ways for you to build a more successful, ambitious, powerful, solid, confident mindset. Okay, I use books mainly as a way to brainwash myself from all of the negative thoughts and ideas that I built over the process of several years since childhood and so on. I use books as a way to brainwash myself so I can adopt a more positive mindset. And once you adopt a more positive mindset, you also start adopting more positive habits in your life, and from those habits you start getting more positive results. This can be in terms of money, it can be in terms of health, it can be in terms of anything depending on the type of books that you decide to read. So I recommend for you to highly to start having this habit of just reading books. Now, if it's not a habit that you have, I recommend for you to start having it. So I'm going to suggest several books that I've read over the process of several years now. And the book that you find the most interesting, just go to Amazon, purchase that book, and what I recommend for you to do to start building this habit is to simply read every single day 10 pages of a good book that you decide to get later on. Okay, so that's how I started. Of course, nowadays I read more than 10 pages each day of a good book. And what I mean about good book is basically a non-fiction book. I don't consider that fiction books have the same potential to change your life. Of course, some fiction books can be really good, and by reading a good story, it may make you feel more motivated to go out there and accomplish whatever you want in life. But I mostly read non-fiction. Actually, I just read non-fiction. It's not mostly. I just read non-fiction nowadays. So yeah, I recommend for you to start having this habit. It is a life-changing habit. And although I have read hundreds of books during the past decade or so, I've come to this point in my life where I basically just have 5 staple books that I just keep rereading them over and over again. And the reason I do this is to brainwash myself with the ideas that these books possess, because I want to live based on the ideas that these books have and that they teach me. So let's talk about books. Let's talk about the first book. And the first book I want to talk about are more indicated for men. Of course, women can read them, but these books are mainly intended for men. If you're a woman and you have a boyfriend and you kind of get pissed off because you feel like he's not ambitious enough, he doesn't act, how can I say this, manly enough, you probably can give one of these books during Christmas and it may help him. Okay, so the first book I recommend, this is mainly for men. This is for men mainly. Of course, women can read this book if they want. but this book was actually written for men. Okay, and you can see that I actually have this book as in Kindle, and also has a paperback. This is a book with like 500 and so pages, 540 pages. It's a thick book. This book is intended for men. This is one of my favorite books. I initially got it as Kindle, in the Kindle format, as you can see over here, and I like this book so much that I decided to get the paperback. I'm a huge fan of this book. So this book is called Hard Times Create Strong Men, and this book, as I said, is indicated for men. Now, the reason I recommend for guys nowadays to read a book like this is a book from Stefan Aarnio. I'm not sure if I'm saying the name of the author correctly. But the reason why I recommend for guys to get this type of books nowadays is because being a man is an ideology or an idea or whatever you want. Ideology. Jesus, I have a hard time saying that. Sometimes I have a hard time saying certain words. I guess you get the idea. It's an idea, okay? What it means to be a man is an idea. And the problem about our society nowadays is there's a lot of confusion. Some people say that gender is something that is fluid. If you're a woman, one day you can wake up, and if you feel like you're a man, and so on. There's a lot of confusion out there, and there's a lack of good male role models. I mean, you have a bunch of rappers just going around just all with their blink and their cars and in their videos with a bunch of women and so on. There's really not good role models for male. And as I already said, being a man is an idea, and that's why in Asian tribes, and there's still certain tribes out there where there was a rite of passage for boys so they could become men. And usually this was boys would get to 13, they were 13, 12 years old, and the men would get the boys from the village. They would take away from their mom and from women, and they would just put them in a place just with men, and they would need to pass this ritual so they could pass from boys to men. And that is something that has been lost in our society. And what has happened is we end up with a bunch of men that act like boys. They are way too emotional. They are emotional weak. And that is the reason I recommend for guys to read this type of books, because these books will give you a good mindset so you can follow along life and you can accomplish more success in life and also attract more easily women and maintain women in your life. So this is the first book I recommend, Hard Times Create Strong Men. It's a fantastic book. I highly suggest for you to get it. I love this book. The other book I recommend for guys to get is The Way of Man. Actually, I just have the Kindle version of this. This is a book from Jack Donovan. This is a fantastic book. I already read this book once. I'm going to read it again. The same thing I'm doing with this Hard Times Create Strong Men. I already read this book once. But this is, I actually consider Hard Times Create Strong Men. This is one of those staple books. It's one of those books that I will just keep rereading over and over again, because I just want to internalize this mindset of what it means to be a man. I just want to follow the guidelines in this book and just follow and apply it into my life. And this is one of those books. So this is a staple book for me, and probably should be a staple book for you if you're a guy. The other book is The Way of Man, Jack Donovan, a very interesting book. Jack Donovan is a fantastic writer. He kind of explains what was the function of man in tribal societies, and kind of tries to put those ideas into practice in the modern world. So what it means to be a man. So those are the two books I recommend. I'm going to read this book again. It's a pretty good book, but for me, this one is the staple book. It's really what I consider the Bible for men and what it means to be a man. Now, the other book that you may want to check. I actually didn't like this book that much. The Biblical Masculine Blueprint. You may want to check this book. It's also for guys. You may want to check this book, but this is more for someone who is religious. I'm not a religious person, so I didn't get along with this book that much. So this book and this book and this book are all for men. Although this book over here, The Way of Man, women can more. I would say that women are able to read this book if they want. I mean, they can read both books, but I would say that this book can be for both, for men and for women, although it's mostly intended for men. But now this book is really just, it's mainly intended for men. Even the author mentions that along his book. Okay, the other book I recommend is, now this is philosophy. I consider philosophy extremely important because our Western society, one of the problems that our Western society has is just a lack of a decent philosophy. And it has got to a point that a lot of the problems that we are facing nowadays is because people don't have a good life philosophy. People are just over emotional. It has got to a point that is so freaking bad that people have become so emotional that their emotions nowadays is more important than logic and rationality. So it has got to a point where your emotions is more important than logic and rationality, and we see a lot of that situation happening nowadays. And that is the reason I recommend Meditations from Mark Aurelius. Mark Aurelius was one of the best, most I would say one of the most successful Roman emperors. And this is a book related to Stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy that goes back to the Greek classics, where it was Xenos that actually started this school of philosophy. And Stoicism is basically a philosophy that teaches you how to manage your emotions and how to rationalize your emotions so you don't actually become controlled by them and don't become someone who is a victim of your emotions and reactive to them. That is a huge problem in our society nowadays. Actually, I'm having a hard time today speaking English, so I'm trying my best over here, but I'm struggling a bit today. Not sure why, but I recommend for you to get this book, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. And actually, it's not, this is from, I must mention, because this is from Gregory Hayes. Because there are several versions of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and this is a book that both men and women, I recommend for both of them to read, because it's a fantastic philosophy that you can actually adopt into your life so you can just live a more peaceful lifestyle, just have a better way to manage your emotions and not let them control you and control your life. So this is from Marcus Aurelius, and this is the version from Gregory Hayes, because there are several versions, and other versions I had a hard time understanding the written content in Meditations. As you can see, this is not my first book for Meditations. I have this one, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, in Kindle, and also this one. And I gotta tell you, I didn't really understand the passages and the content in this book, so I decided to get this version because someone said that this was the easiest one for you to understand. So yeah, this is philosophy. I recommend for you to check it, and it is one of those staple books. Again, another staple book that I just keep rereading, because I just want to adopt these ideas into my lifestyle and live in, I would say, in a stoic way. The other book is A Guide to the Good Life. Pretty good book, once again, about Stoicism. It explains basically the how Stoicism started in Greece, explains everything. Also provides a lot of good ideas about what Stoicism is, several strategies so you can apply this Stoic lifestyle into your life. So, The Guide to the Good Life. Okay, pretty good book. I recommend. It's not a staple. I actually just read it once. But Marcus Aurelius is the book that I just keep rereading. The other book, also kind of related to philosophy, is this one. Okay, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I enjoy this book a lot by Mark Manson. He explains, it's once again also related to philosophy, several ways for you to kind of change your mindset so you can live a better and calmer lifestyle and so on. So this is another book I recommend. I enjoyed this book. I actually did enjoy the second book that came out kind of recently. I think it was last year or something like that. I actually have that book. I didn't enjoy it. This book was very good. I already read this book twice. And it's a fantastic book. You should get it. Very interesting book. I actually got this book the first time. I think I already read it 3 times, in fact. And the first time I got it, I was glued to this book. I just read it. I read the whole book in one day or something like that. Okay, now let's go to books about making money. This is a staple of mine. Okay, this is one of those books I just keep rereading once and again, just reading and reading. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I believe most people already know about Robert Kiyosaki. And basically this is explains the differences between assets and liabilities, because there's a lot of people think that, for example, their house is an asset, and it's not an asset as long as it's taking money from your pocket. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, and that's the easiest way for me to explain this. But in this book, Robert Kiyosaki explains the basics. It's a staple, and it's kind of just increasing your financial education so you can take better decisions with your money. The other book also related to money. This is like the Bible. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I already read this book several times. This is a staple of mine also. It's a book that I just keep reading, and it's a way for me to brainwash myself. It basically explains how you can adopt a mindset so you can more easily attract money. And there's several exercises within this book that you can apply so you can more easily attract money into your life. It's a great book, a staple book. I recommend for you to check it out. Think and Grow Rich. If you never read this book, you should do it, by Napoleon Hill. Okay. The other book, now about copywriting. It's a small book, very small book. This book will teach you how to write better. This is about copywriting, so you can write more engaging content to entice people to purchase your products online and also offline, of course. This is by Neville Medhora. I think I said the name of the author correctly. This is a really short book with some great strategies so you can write better copywriting. The other book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Okay, great book. If you deal with people, I guess everyone deals with people on a daily basis, and if you want to influence people, well, this book is highly recommended. It will help you to sell your products online, even offline, more easily, and it will help you also to influence people more easily, so people will do whatever you want, and everyone is happy in the end of the day. So influencing people is extremely important. This is one of the best books out there. It already sold over 16 million copies worldwide, so that's a lot of copies. Dale Carnegie. Once again, Dale Carnegie. So a lot of books over here. Okay, so these are the books that I have over here physical. Some other books I actually didn't purchase physically, so it's just I just have the Kindle version. So this the Way of the Man is one of them. Let me see if there's other books over here that I recommend. I also like this one, 12 Pillars by Jim Rohn. I just love the content from Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn has been one of my, I would say, one of my main mentors over the years. I just keep listening to his words, and it has changed completely my lifestyle. So Jim Rohn, 12 Pillars over here, 12 Pillars. I recommend for you to check this book. Pretty good one. Also, any content from Jim Rohn is very good. You can even go just to YouTube and search for Jim Rohn, and you will find a lot of content for you to listen to. The other one I like is The Richest Man in Babylon. I probably read this book twice. It's a short book. You can read this pretty easily in one day or something like that. And it's a story. It's kind of a fiction, but it teaches you some good ideas about money and how money is actually made, and about Babylon, which was one of the, I think, one of the richest cities in the ancient civilization. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Okay, over here, this is the books I recommend for you to check. The other one that I actually have has audio is this one. I only have the audio on my mobile. Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins. Extremely fantastic audio. I recommend for you to get actually the audio over here. You can see the audio over here for some reason, but there's the audio for this. Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins. He has a fantastic story. It's just splendid, the information he shares with you. I mean, this is anyone can read it, but I consider David Goggins like an excellent role model for man to follow, because his mindset is just something out of this world. I mean, he has already did like a bunch of ultra marathons. He was a Navy SEAL. I mean, a lot of cool stuff, and he explains his past along his audiobook. Especially the audiobook is fantastic because, I mean, it's David Goggins talking about his life and so on. So I recommend for you to check this book. The other one I actually still haven't got it, but I need to get this one, is Atlas Shrugged. A lot of people already have suggested this book. It's like one of those books that, I mean, if you're a capitalist, it's one of those recommended books. And I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, then of course you're a capitalist. So this is one of those books, but it's a huge book, and I'm kind of getting the courage just to get this book. This book has 1,188 pages. That's so lengthy. It's like, gosh, it's like twice the size of this one that I have over here from Strongman. This one over here, it's twice the size of this book. It's I'm trying to get the courage to get this book, but as you can see, there's a lot of reviews. This is one of those highly suggested book, and you can even go to the reviews and read it. So yeah, those are all of the books I wanted to mention. This is the last book that I wanted to mention because I know that this is a pretty good book and I need to get it. So that is all for this video. If you still haven't left a like, leave a like. If you have any suggestion of book that you would like to provide so other people could check it out and so on, and get more information about it, just leave it on the comment section, your suggestion, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get more of these videos on a daily basis. That is all for now. Stay tuned with your Alexo, and bye.